The Haslab Omega Prime has arrived, but what about those QC issues? Oh boy, do we got a lot to talk about.
It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and on today's video, we're going to be talking about the Transformers Haslab Omega Prime. And I originally thought of just kind of doing a standard review of it. But as people have continued to get this set in, and how people will continue to get this set in, because there's 28,000 of these things that have to go out at some point, there has been some QC problems, and there's been some issues that seem to sort of be a mix of plastic tolerance issues or design flaws. So I thought what we should do, the responsible thing to do when covering this stuff, would be to talk about the QC issues is kind of the focus. We're going to go through and look at Omega Prime, but this is going to be less traditional review. I'm not going to be going over like the transformation per se, but I'm going to talk about what issues have come up, and then also like what are some fixes for those issues that people have found, because yeah, this has been a bit of an issue. As a reminder, if you ever get an item like this and you get a QC problem, something out of the box, contact Hasbro, tell them it's happening, because if it's widespread enough, they might issue a correction. And at the very least, they have that stuff on record for future projects. So always contact Hasbro, because I know, people were reporting it for a few days, and then someone was like, I contacted Hasbro, and said the first time they've heard of it. So always contact Hasbro. We know that some designers look at message boards, but not all the customer service people do. So the box art looks great. We got Omega Prime on the front. We've got Ultra Magnus here on the side. And then we've got Optimus Prime on the other side. I'm very excited about this. A little nervous in some ways. Love the recreation of the combination sequence on the top. A little nervous because the QC issues have been more than just one or two. There's been a specific issue with Prime's torso that's come up about 6 or 7 times as the time of recording. So yeah, there's a lot that we got to kind of look into. This is a huge set. If you enjoy this type of video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the notification bell so you don't miss out on future uploads. It helps the channel out, and I really appreciate it. So let's not waste any more time. Let's just crack into it. I have not opened mine at all. I decided, originally I was just going to like open it on my own time, then just kind of put it together, kind of do a video like I did for Death Saurus and Victory Saber. But I decided, nope, we need to look at this thing. First impressions, hands-on, it goes this way. That actually makes a lot of sense. I like the way Haslab has been doing this. This is a new engineering or a new packaging design thing. It's becoming universal, where instead of it being in like crazy trays, it's got this universal like, here's a tray at a time for parts, and the idea is that you can pull out one part at a time. I think I just paper cut it myself. We'll find out in a moment if it bleeds. Yeah, be careful when opening your expensive collector toys. So we're gonna get these trays out of here like this, because there's a few different ones. So I guess we'll go tray by tray, and then we'll check for the problematic QC problems, and then from there we will kind of go into like kind of a more review thing. I think I'm just gonna kind of do like a, we'll just do like a mode by mode sort of look at things. So this one is, I guess I just put some Cybertronian symbols on there. This one's Optimus Prime himself. Cool. All right, that was our first stop on a QC train. So he's packed in truck mode. So that means we're going to have to take a look at him outside of truck mode. They put some chrome parts there, because the issue with Optimus that people have been reporting, this is so surreal to me because I own the original toys. I'm an RID kid. This was my first vehicle Transformer show because I started with Beast Wars. So what's kind of wild is that this is like a bigger and beefier and feistier version of the toy I had as a child, without the light box and stuff. I heard that there were some issues with these coming off. Yeah, they're kind of on those standard like 5mm pegs. Ooh, that one on mine is really loose, whereas this one's just kind of loose. So that's been kind of a tolerance thing. That's not anything crazier than like standard Transformers. Do like how they have all the packing material. So the issue with Optimus, ooh, tissue paper. The issue with Optimus is his torso. So without busting the toy, because I have no idea how this new one transforms in comparison to the original. Interesting. Okay, so the issue people have been having with Prime is that, I'm trying to be careful here because there's a lot of new engineering I am not familiar with. All right, so we got to get this out, because the issue has been coming up with the way this torso is designed for the legs. So the way the torso works is that it slides up through here. And on the old toy, it popped the head out, but I guess the head's now... Oh, the head's back here. Ooh, that way it can be bigger and more animation accurate. That's cool. All right, cool. So the issue that's been happening is that this part here, for some people, has been arriving cracked, and for other people, they've cracked it because they may put pressure there. So we're going to make sure not to do that. But that is a key point to be looking out for in the toy design. And apparently the issue is coming in when this is pushed up through here because it's kind of tight. And it does feel tight on mine. There is like an assembly thing that people have been doing where they've been taking it apart because essentially it's got kind of like a detented section inside. And that detented section, while normally would be kind of a different ratchet system, the way they designed it is kind of an issue. Not an issue on mine at the moment. I'm going to be very careful with it, obviously, because I don't want to create the issue. But out of the box, good to go on my part, which is awesome to see. Bummer for everyone that is happening to, because, you know, this is like a, this one's like $250. These are expensive toys. Okay, so here's Magnus. Is the Autobot logo supposed to be on there? Question mark? The issue with Magnus that's been happening. There's Magnus. Okay, there's the Autobot logo. Oh, I see. Okay, so this piece clips onto that piece to form the front grille. Okay, we're good. We're good. I was real concerned there for a moment. So the issue that has been happening with Magnus is that with the arm panels for Omega Prime, because they're using that like palm plastic, the kind that has a tendency to yellow at times, people have been having yellowing issues. And that sucks because the yellowing problem with the Transformers plastic has been widespread for years now, and it's still not solved. So let's take a look, because I know that it's mostly affecting these pieces here, the arm components for Omega Prime. The arm panels, these are the parts that people were talking about yellowing. So on mine, it's looking about the same. I know the white balance on the camera, I have it set to auto at the moment. Currently, can't adjust the white balance on my camera for a technical reason. That's looking about the same. This one's looking a little different than this one, though. It's not like major. I don't even know if it's showing up on camera. It's just a little bit different. And then what about the other side? Because the arm panels here, they did keep the handshake gimmick. Yeah, that looks pretty consistent on that one, all things considered. And then over here, does it look consistent over here? Yeah, it looks pretty consistent over here. So pretty good. I think he's in the clear on that. So yeah, it's the fun part about doing this video is all the extra stuff. So all right, so what's in this one? All right, that's the Matrix blade. Nobody's had any issues with the Matrix blade as far as I know. Cool, all good there. And then what is all of this? This is all the other bonus stuff, right? So yeah, all right. So here we have the instruction booklet, right? There's 2 instruction booklets in there, so that's going to be helpful. We got Bluebolts. Bluebolts was originally Ultra Magnus's gun. Now it's a whole robot. There we got the stand, and there we have the other stand components, because these 2 stands work together to be like the space bridge, and there's a bunch of pieces. There's Cerebros, the little bonus, the little emissary Cerebros they threw in to be kind of a neat bonus. Still want a Brave Maximus to get made, but that's because I'm an RID fan. At this point, we're gonna go through all the modes, show them off. We're not gonna do the transformations in the video. That's other people are much better at showing transformations than me. But let's get to it. Let's go through Omega Prime. All right, so here we have Optimus Prime in his fire truck mode. This has been kind of a surreal experience because I have the original toy, but I haven't had it complete in a long time. And my original one's kind of busted in some places, especially with the ladder rack. This is kind of a wild trip because this feels very, very similar to the original toy while having like significant changes. I've kind of felt the same way with like the Cybertron toys in Legacy, where it's like, wow, this is really close, but there's some like engineering differences that throw me off. And that's kind of how my experience with Omega Prime in general is, because I did own the original toys, but I had them when I was like 5. 5 and 6, so they haven't been complete in a while. And even then, the tires on my original Prime are gone, because the original Prime toy, it was rubber tires for all of these, and so they went to plastic, which I'm so happy about, because I hate rubber tires. They always crack, they always break, they always fall off, especially me. I live in a dry climate, so that's just not even going to help the situation. So I'm so glad it's got plastic tires. It rolls pretty good, all things considered. There's little like extra wheels under the front of the cab there, which really helps. Looks pretty great. In terms of like, you know, features, they kept the big old ratcheting ladder part up here, which is pretty awesome. It still rotates around. It feels all fresh and new, which is nice. You can flip out the cannons in the front, which used to be like a flip out gimmick. And then same thing for these. These also used to be, you'd pull a little mechanism and they'd slide forward and then they'd fire off because they're all missiles. This time, these are all solid pieces, but you can pull the missile parts out, which I think is pretty cool. They didn't have to do that, but they did it, and I think that's neat. They don't fire in any way. There's no firing mechanism, but you can remove the actual missiles if you wanted to. So if I wanted to make this look like my original toy, I totally could, because I don't have any of those missiles anymore. So it's pretty awesome. One of the neat little features they added is that they did include like a bonus figure. This is the Emissary. He's one of the components of Fortress Maximus from Robots in Disguise, or Brave Maximus, if you're going by the Japanese names. So you have the Emissary here, which he does turn into the little head that would go on Cerebros, that would then become the head for Fortress Maximus, Brave Maximus. It's a neat little bonus. It kind of almost signals to me that we're not going to get Brave Maximus, even though I really would want them to. I wouldn't even mind if they just used the Titans Return Fortress Maximus. But he can sit in the little fireman's seat there. But you can also, this is kind of cool too, you can also, because there's no spring-loaded mechanism here, they made it so that you can have him like stand in the bucket. So basically the Emissary in this set is just kind of a neat little bonus to interact with the gimmicks on Prime, which is cool. And I think that it's kind of neat because you can use any of the Titan Masters for either of these things. For me personally, I'm just going to use Emissary because, you know, he's here. What else am I supposed to do with him? He doesn't have anything to go with. But it's pretty awesome. And in general, it's just really good. It's really good. Like, I get zero complaints in truck mode. Like, it's, you know, Fire Convoy, you know, is such a great design. You know, whether you know him as Optimus Prime or Fire Convoy, he's great. And the only complaint I have on the Haslab version is the way the light bars are done. So on the original toy, these were kind of like screwed in. They didn't come off. These are now on like a little 5 millimeter, whatever, 3 millimeter peg. So the idea is that these can slide back for transformation or slide forward, which they do, except this is an issue I've seen pretty widespread. The QC makes it so if you move them too many times, they're going to pop off. This one takes a few movements. This one's like up already off in like just a couple. It's not ideal. And in fact, I almost lost one of these because I was transforming this guy while sitting on the couch. One of them popped off when I wasn't expecting it, and it fell down into the couch. Luckily, I got it back, but something to be very aware of. The tolerance on that hasn't been super sturdy, which is a bit of a bummer. Now, of course, this guy does transform. I don't want to do the full transformation on camera because it is a little bit involved. It's a little bit pain in the butt in some cases. They've made this truck mode insanely sturdy to the point where I feel like it's sturdier than even the original toy, because the original toy, maybe that's just age, this section could pop off a lot easier. This thing's pretty solid, but in some cases maybe too solid. So like the way I found to detach the cab section, because the cab section is the thing we got to talk about the most in this video, I found if you just attach it from here, like to get this part kind of off, then from there you can untab, because you see these are the tabs that are going in under there. So if you pull this like this, you will be able to pull this off of there. That is the easiest way. You could leave this attached to the other part, but not really, because you need to pull these two panels off, get this piece detached, and then you can get the cab. That's the best method I've found, because the first time I tried to do it, real pain in the butt when I was doing the unboxing part, and yeah, it's not very clean. So yeah, and the cool part too is you can put all this section back together if you want, just like, you know, the back half of the fire truck. Totally an option. But I'm going to mostly transform this guy here, and then we're going to talk about the big QC issue with the torso. But before we get to that, I totally forgot two other things. So I wanted to do a quick size comparison. Here's a average size deluxe class transformer to just show how like massive this fire truck is. First fire truck transformer in a while that actually feels like the proper size. Like fire trucks are huge, and then it's like we get like a Voyager like Inferno, and it's like that's a small fire truck. But that's, you know, average size deluxe. Here's Sideburn, the only other Autobot, you know, main Autobot from Car Robots, Robots in Disguise. I guess here's also Towline. So you can see like this guy is really, really big overall, and, you know, just really impressive. Also, here he is next to Ultra Magnus, so you can kind of see the size of the two trucks together, because once I turn him into robot mode, I'm not going to go back to this for a while, so you can kind of see two really big trucks, really massive there. And then if you connect the stands together, you get the Space Bridge mode, and that's what it looks like on the Space Bridge track, which I think is pretty cool. This isn't official. I just kind of put, these are like the extra stand connector pieces. I just put them on here, like kind of like lampposts on the Space Bridge, but it looks pretty awesome that way. It's cool that the display stands have an option for vehicle mode, and they do have these clips that hold them together in the middle, and that works pretty good. But I like the way that they're designed to look like a Space Bridge, so that way you can have them like driving on the Space Bridge, which is cool. All right, now let's talk about the cab section. So didn't even realize this, happened by accident. The ladder extends. I was like, oh, it's long enough, it's not going to extend. Nope, they put the extending ladder in there. It totally extends out. It was really hard to get to go the first time, like it was really locked in, but you know, there you go. Ladder does extend on the big hold truck, which is really, really cool. All right, so here has been the biggest QC issue with the figures so far. I've done some research into this to make sure I got all this correct. This is the issue people have been having the most. So this piece of plastic right here is a little thin, and so when you go to transform it, you have to slide this mechanism up in here. And there's a couple different points to do it at. It kind of clicks in about here. That's for like super mode and transformations, and obviously that is for regular prime mode. Now the issue is that the tolerance for the sliding mechanism in there, not great. And so it's sometimes caused fractures in the plastic that led to cracks here. I also will say that when you're transforming it, there's a lot of pieces that'll go on front. So for example, if you look like there's these clips here, and what you may end up doing is like popping something in. We'll talk about this at the super mode. You pop it in, and then you're pushing down from the outside, not realizing you're stressing this plastic. So the big solution to this is to basically take it apart and kind of shave down the internal mechanism. I haven't done this yet, and it's kind of risky to do this early in the video, but I realize that, you know, if we're doing this, we're going all the way. So we're going to take apart Optimus Prime here. We're going to do a little in-person surgery. All right, so let's do this. We're going to have to, I got a really long handle on the screwdriver, which is going to be important. Pretty sure to get to this easier, we're going to take this part apart first, which is not, you know, not ideal. Not ideal at all, but, you know, we're going to do it. We are brave on this channel. We shall come to victory. You may want to just not do all this. This is me just doing this for the sake of, like, not screwing up on camera, because when you do this, do it in a situation or an environment where you can sort of easily take things apart, not doing it reached around a camera, because that's kind of like what I'm doing. So the question becomes, can we get this to, yeah, is that all the screws? I think that's all the screws on this component. Those, make sure you always keep your screws. Don't lose your screws. So I'm going to take this. Okay, so what I've done here, I've loosened up this connection right here, so that way we can just get the whole mechanism off of there. There we go. Okay, so that's out of the way. Like I said, may not necessarily need to do that. You should be able to, what you're looking for is these 4 screws here, these 2 here, and these 2 here. Those are the important ones. You can probably get around it, just for the sake of the video, I'm making it so that we get around it like that. This is just making it easier so I can do it behind a camera. Okay, I've got all the screws loosened up here, which means this part is going to have to come off, but I realize that you also have to get rid of the gray bracket, because the gray bracket is holding down the red plate to get into the internals here. So it's a total of 6 screws we got to undo, at least so far. I've not done this before. You could figure that out. Oh, the gray bracket screws are smaller. Yeah, I haven't done this before now. I'm just doing this now because the more that like people looked over the design of this, this does seem like it's a design flaw that is leading to some people having cracking, some people having other issues. Those are not the same size screw. No, they're close. They're really close. So people have been having issues with the toy widespread enough that I feel like to do a video on this, I really need to cover this part in particular. Okay, so here we are, and here is what we're looking at. So when it comes to the way they designed this mechanism, you can see that there's these little notches here. So there's these notches on either side of the mechanism, and it's also on this side. And these are what are holding in place this piece here. This piece here is sliding up and down through, let's see, that's the back plate, right? So if this piece is in here, it's sliding up through here, and the idea is that these little pieces are supposed to hold it in place, right? You kind of get this mechanism where it's sliding back and forth. Now on mine, currently, like, and I say currently because I don't know how the future will be. On mine currently, I have no problem getting that thing to move. So for mine, you know, this doesn't seem to be a problem. It's just sliding past, no issue. For other people, and I'll try to put some images up, the tabs stick out too much. Or, you know, you either have the tabs stick out too much, or this piece is a little bit wider. And so what it's doing is it's tearing through the tabs that are supposed to hold the friction in place. And so when it tears through those tabs, guess what it's going to tear through on this piece? If it tears through these tabs, right, if it breaks these tabs, it's going to cause this whole piece to lose its structural integrity. So that's why people have been having cracks on the front. This is something that is very tricky because it is like a plastic tolerance thing, because you want to make sure if you're going to do this, you want to shave down some of the plastic to make it easier to move, but you don't want to shave down too much to where you like lose all stability in it. Luckily, the way it's designed is you don't need this part to be tight, because as long as it's down and locked in up here, you're good to go. As long as in the combine mode, you can get it to go halfway, there's another piece on the backpack that fills a spacer to make it sturdier. So you're good to go on shaving down part of the components to make sure you don't have the issue in the future, or if you're having the issue, that's the fix. It is not ideal that that is a fix we have to do, and if you are having an issue where the plastic is cracked, absolutely 100% contact Hasbro customer service and tell them that this is happening, because they need to know and they need to replace it, or issue a partial refund or something like that. For me, the issue seems to be mitigated at the moment, but it is something to be very aware of going forward. In general, when I move this piece, as much as I look like I'm trying to like move it quickly, I am trying to be careful not to push down here specifically, because that's been kind of the issue. And looking at how thin that part of the plastic is, that would be my biggest recommendation. If you're not having the issue, just always try to grab it from the sides, never from the front. And then for now, that's just kind of how it goes. I'm going to reassemble Prime, and we'll get back to talking about the toy itself. But that is the #1 issue that this figure so far that I've seen, and that's how to do the fix. That's how you open it up, and then shaving parts down is how you get it to work better. All right, so here he is. Here's Optimus reassembled. When I went to reassemble him, I did do one thing. I didn't tighten the screws all the way in the torso, because I figured that'll just help with this, because it kind of slides a little easier. Like I just, you know, instead of tightening them all down as much as I could, I left them untied, just a little tightened. So they still hold together, like there's no gap in there, but yeah, this thing moves pretty good on mine. It's going to just seemingly vary from individual to individual, and that top of the gray bar piece, like this piece here, that's the part you need to shave down if you're having issues. That should fix most of the problem. I know there may be some more radical cases. It's definitely a combination of QC tolerance and a bit of a design flaw. It's a little weird in there, and yeah, I think they tried to solve an issue that the original toy had, and in turn may have created a whole new issue. It's sort of the curse of Godfire Convoy. This has happened to pretty much every version of the toy. There's something weird on these two guys always. But anyways, Optimus is pretty good. He's huge compared to, like, here's a leader class figure that they called Scourge from RID, but it's really just Nemesis Prime. Yeah, I mean, he's pretty massive for the truck mode. He definitely feels bigger than the original. I couldn't figure out where I put my original Prime in his cab form, but you know, he's pretty large, he's pretty beefy, he's pretty solid, all things considered. He's got like nice ankle joints, and he's got ratcheted knees, and he's got like thigh swivels, and the hips are pretty ratcheted, which is good for the combinations. You got arm movement, which is nice. Yeah, his head adjusts, looks pretty good. I think some people were complaining about like the torso doesn't come together as close, but it's the way that they redesigned it, because it pulls out like this for the combination, so you can get to those clips. A little different of a system. Kind of like it. I kind of like it a little bit more than the original. The arm panels can slide up separate from the fists, which is really nice. They do have the kind of dramatic hand reveal. So if you pull this down, boom, fist, and you slide it back up, boom, open hand. So pretty cool. He's got his gun. You're probably wondering, if you don't know the way this toy works, here's the rest of his fire truck. It has a little base form, and the base form is pretty cool, because it's got like, you know, there it is, you know, emissary's still there, and then, you know, big tall ladder gun. It's pretty cool. It's a good way to kind of like store his parts and pieces while you're not doing super mode stuff. Now, of course, just like the original toy, and this was kind of a, I want to say a common thing in the show. I might just be remembering the Toonami intro, because they use this all the time. You can take the back panels here, and these two pieces, which normally become the feet for the super mode, you can actually flip these out and then separate them, and boom, look at that, you got rocket launchers. So you can just kind of plug them onto his shoulders, which you can't see because I tilted the camera the wrong way. You can plug them on his shoulders, and boom, now he's got big old shoulder missile pod cannons, which is super cool. I kind of like it. You know, I love Optimus Prime having a super mode where it's kind of like the cab becomes a robot, the trailer becomes the super mode. I also like it when he can like partial transform like this, because that's just really, really awesome. But yeah, let's go to the super mode. Let's talk about the Optimus super mode. I'm just going to, once again, transform it off camera. But yeah, let's talk about the super mode. Actually, before we get there, since this is related to the torso issue, for those worried about like the torso getting loose in super mode, because that was an issue with the original toy, the way they designed it is that you take this like this, and then you swing this piece up as like a locking mechanism. I have found there's a better way to do this. And so basically what I do is I kind of get this up so that bottom joint's there. By the way, he has a waist swivel. That's really, really cool engineering. So I kind of bring him like this, bring this piece down, and then have this come up from the bottom, because the way the clip system works, a little scary. But if you have it come up from the bottom, then bring his waist back, locks in place, no problem. So you can see that like in his extended torso, he's not going to extend on you. This was the issue with the original toy, is that this piece could still extend when you were combined. So they've added this little piece here to lock his waist in, and so he still has the waist swivel, which is awesome, but now you don't have to worry about this moving anywhere. So if you shave that gray piece too much and it's a little loose in Optimus mode, it's not going to be an issue for combination mode. And that's pretty cool. So it's a pretty good workaround to the overall issue itself. And yeah, once again, when you're transforming it, just don't push down on that. That's the weakest piece on the whole toy. All right, so here's Optimus Prime Super Mode, or Super Fire Convoy, if you're a Car Robots fan. I love this. This is great. So the original toy, having him in Super Mode, I don't remember how a lot of it went together, but I can tell you some new things. They added ankle joints. So he does have ankle rockers, and it's really cool because it pegs in here, and it pegs in his foot, and then the whole mechanism moves. That's really clever, and you can even adjust that little panel if you want, which I think is super cool. He's got good range of articulation now. He's got kind of a butterfly shoulder effect, because you pull those shoulders out to make sure he's got enough clearance for everything, and it's got kind of a butterfly shoulder, which is pretty cool. The head's a little weird. Not to say that the head design's bad. I think the head looks great. It's just this neck joint. He's got like, essentially he's got like two neck joints here. One that slides forward a bit, and then it's got kind of like a second hinge that doesn't really do much, but it kind of just makes his head sometimes look like it's floating up, so you got to kind of like adjust it, and then it looks more natural, but it does get a pretty good range out of it. I love the little chrome smokestacks on the side. He does still keep the gimmick in his chest where there's the crystal piece. It does come out, and you can put it in the back of Prime, which is neat, but I can't really get it out of here very easily. You kind of have to like get it out with a little tool. So I'm not sure I'm going to bother, but it's even got the little targeting reticle back there, which is pretty cool. It's neat that it's in a removable piece, which I think is neat. I said neat twice, that's bad. The chest plate. So let me talk about this whole section of it here, because this is the part that I don't know if it's contributing to people having the cracks on the torso. Basically, this whole piece is like one giant mechanism. So, and this goes for the Omega Prime mode as well. You can kind of see it's a little tricky to deal with. Okay, so, you know, this is how the torso is done. What I recommend is you clip this part in first. So you clip this into the torso, bring this down, and then this will lock in on top with a couple tabs, and then it'll lock into the backpack with a couple tabs, and then you can swing the giant ladder around, which we'll talk about that in a moment. That's like a cool piece. So you get the ladder around, and it's locked in place. What I would be concerned about, and what I would warn against, is pushing down on this plate. So like you want to plug the clip in so you do something like this. Wouldn't recommend that, because I think this is going to push into the torso a little bit. Just would avoid it. I would say just clip that in first, bring the head down and around, lock it in place. Pretty solid. I do love how articulated he is, because this is a big bulky form, but they managed to get a lot of joint movement in it. He's got the articulating hands like the original, which is nice. And he's got the big old, you know, cannon. So yeah, all that ratcheting, you can bring it up over his shoulder, you can pop the guns out, you can get all the missile racks going here like this, and so you can get him into his, like, you know, his weapon configuration, which is pretty awesome, and he actually can pose with it better than the original toy could. I guess if you wanted to extend out the whole front part of the ladder, you can do that too. It's gonna just sort of droop, because there's not really as much counterweight as in the truck mode, but you can do that if you wish. So pretty awesome. If you want more stability with them, the space bridge halves split in half, and then you can just peg him onto the stand like that. Boom. He's not going anywhere. That's a really solid, sturdy guy. Look at that. So pretty awesome. Pretty happy with Super Mode overall. Here is Nemesis Laser Prime as a comparison. You can see how much bigger he is. He's absolutely massive. Just a gigantic figure, which is really, really fun. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for Prime on his own. I think outside that torso issue is pretty solid. I really, really like this. It's a bummer that so many people have been having issues with the torso. And hopefully nobody, you know, hopefully it's not so widespread that it's affecting everybody's copies, but it's a possibility because of the weird design. But speaking of weird design, I think it's time to take a look at Ultra Magnus. Alright, so here we have Ultra Magnus, also known as God Magnus in Car Robots. This guy has always been a bit of an issue from a design perspective because of two reasons. One, he's a carrier like the original Ultra Magnus was, and two, he always has to exist to combine with Optimus, so he can't be as good of a toy on his own. And that's sort of, I think, like one of the reasons why this is a Haslab, not just because we're talking about insanely complicated Transformers with so much unique molding and stuff, but I think because Magnus himself is a really hard sell on his own. You know, back in the day when they could release, you know, Optimus and Magnus close together, no problem. Nowadays, we'd get them a year apart each, and how do you sell Ultra Magnus unless you're also selling him with Prime? And also, like, you know, to do it right, he's got to be huge, and he's huge. This feels close to the size of the original. The original toy was pretty big, and yeah, this is really fun. So, first things first, his weapon has been completely redesigned for this, because the original toy just had a big old gun with a couple missile launchers in the front, and so you just, you know, pull out your missiles, load your missiles, and then pew, fire. And it was a big old weapon, and, you know, had like a little flip-up targeting reticle. For this release, they decided, you know what, that's such a big weapon. What if we just decide to make it an armorizer? Yeah, so this is Bluebolts, and she's pretty cool, because, yeah, they decided instead of just giving Magnus a big old gun that Magnus really doesn't use on his own, it kind of, I don't know, it doesn't even show up that much in the show itself, but it was part of the toy, and so instead of just making a big old gun that doesn't do anything besides be a big old gun, they thought, let's just make a robot out of it, and I'm all here for it. I always like the weaponizers when they kind of do this sort of thing. Like when they were doing, when they first started doing weaponizers, the components that, you know, went with the city bots, right? Like the little like pack-in dudes, except now they can do like extra weapons, and they're more intricate figures. Love that. When they were doing like, here's a rock that can become armor, I was like, okay, why don't you just make a Rock Lord then? So, yeah, I like this sort of thing when it can kind of take here's a less interesting component of an original toy and make it into a whole new figure, and that's what we got here. So Bluebolts is awesome. Absolutely love this. This is the kind of thing I love to see in Transformers. It's like, yeah, we're making stuff show accurate, but hey, we have a little bit of room to make something fun. Let's do it. Because if I remember correctly, and I could be completely wrong on this, and that's what the comments section is for, I think Magnus's gun was electronic, and so you take the electronics out, and then it's just a big old gun. Take the missiles out, it literally does nothing. Guess what? Now it's a robot. That is the kind of thing I think is awesome. So, that aside, Magnus on his own, he's still pretty big. Like, there's a deluxe Transformer. There's another deluxe Transformer. They did specifically talk about making sure he was sized so he could fit Sideburn, X-Brawn, and Prowl. We only have Sideburn. No idea when we're getting X-Brawn and Prowl, but they did make sure he was big enough to hold them in place. You got a couple options here. So the, Sideburn, he fits totally fine in there. Like, plenty of space, definitely big enough. And then you can detach this part here so you can roll up to the top. And yep, he's going to fit up there. You can fit, Prowl and X-Brawn if you have them. Which, maybe if you're watching this in the future, you're like, did they ever make Ultra Magnus? I have all these 3 Autobot brothers. There you go. But yeah, there's plenty of room for any of these deluxe size Transformers. Heck, here's G1 Wheeljack. He's got plenty of room. He's got wiggle room in there. So you're going to fit anybody you want. And also, this is just without any confirmation because I can't dig out my originals. I think that the original Autobot brothers would probably fit in this because of how large this is. Pretty well covered. There's the nice shiny chrome grille. Let's get him transformed into robot mode because that's the next interesting step for him. Except for the fact I once again forgot the space bridge. There, space bridge. He's on the road. Isn't that cool? So the big issue with Ultra Magnus QC wise is these door wings. Not so much the rotating, but when you go to put them into robot mode, which is a whole thing, you got to rotate these in place in a way so that you line up like that peg to that hole, and then you push them down. Now on mine, kind of tricky, takes some force. On others, it's nearly impossible to pull off. The best way to mitigate this, if you are having the issue, is to take apart the backpack and then kind of work, and maybe even, if you want to take it apart or just kind of put some like shock oil or something to try and just get pieces moving in there. That might be the solution to getting that to work out. But yeah, that's been kind of the issue now. I do know someone who got theirs and couldn't get it all the way back up again. Mine seems to be doing it. Takes a little bit of force because if it doesn't come all the way back up, truck mode's not going to go together. So that's the biggest issue on Magnus structurally to worry about. So here is Ultra Magnus in robot mode, and he looks pretty great. There is not a lot to do with this design that you can really work with because Mr. Hollow Legs much. Yeah, because a lot of this stuff has to collapse in on itself to become armor for Optimus to make Omega Prime, he does have like the highest waist in all of history, the really weird shoulders. His proportions are funky. He's not a toy you get to have on his own as much as it's a toy you get to combine with Optimus Prime. And so that's kind of just the way that he's always been, and it's kind of the way that this toy continues to be. That being said, unlike the original toy, he can actually pose, so that's pretty cool. He can, do stuff. He can be running. He could be all, like, angry and stuff. If you want to make sure he can, like, stand properly, you bring in the stand, you add one of these little, like, adapter pieces. It plugs into the back of his skirt here, which we can just line up. Well, I was trying to line it up easy. There we go, line it up nice and easy. Now you can have dramatic Flying Magnus, whatever that pose is. It's pretty cool that they did give you the stand options for both, and you can have two, they give you 2 stands, so that way you can have them on the stand, make it a little bit easier to work with, which is really, really cool. In terms of like an overall figure, though, I mean, they did a good job. He looks like Ultra Magnus, God Magnus. He's just not that interesting as a toy, to be honest, because he kind of exists to be a combination component. Here's Bluebolts. Here she is. We got that. There's Bluebolts. Here's Leader Class Nemesis Laser Prime again. So you can kind of see size scaling. Very large figure, which is really fun, honestly. And yeah, pretty cool. Now there is a weapon mode for Bluebolts here, which I'll do off camera. But before we do that, here is Super Mode Optimus Prime. So our 2 main robots here in their biggest forms. Looking huge, looking gigantic, looking really, really cool. I don't know, I really like this because the RID figures, like as a whole, this is supposed to be Scourge, but he's in the wrong colors. Toe line is a Junkion recolor. And then Sideburn was overall underwhelming for me. So Optimus and Magnus feel like the first RID 2001 figures in the modern day to actually feel like RID 2001 figures and not like we cut all the corners. This is really, really nice, and we're getting Skybite later, which I'm super excited about. But yeah, as an RID 2001 Car Robots fan, really bummed out that the legacy lineup for the series has been really mediocre. So this is just like kind of a beautiful gift in a lot of ways. Yeah, I think that's kind of like the general thought I've had since this was revealed, is like, oh, finally an RID 2001 toy. It's actually an RID 2001 toy. So the first Bluebolts weapon mode is basically the one from the original Magnus toy, which is basically just kind of rigging him up to have like a big old cannon, which is pretty cool. Actually, is pretty neat. It does lock into the shoulders, locks into the hands, so it's really, really solid, not going anywhere, which is pretty cool. Now, that being said, as much as it's like, oh, hey, that's what the original toy could do, the other two weapon modes, or the other weapon mode is more interesting, and the other mode is even more interesting. But let's go take a look at the second weapon configuration. So this is the second weapon mode, and I actually think it's pretty cool. It separates the two guns, gives Magnus a extra backpack back there with the missiles. I think that's more tactical. It kind of makes more sense. I kind of like the visual language of like, oh, hey, here's like the quick weapon mode, but then the big cannon mode in the front is like the final attack. And I think it's a really cool integration of Bluebolts into Magnus and really taking advantage of the weaponizer gimmick, not just going like you can just put these things anywhere, but having kind of like specific design language that kind of goes together. It's really, really cool. And then here is the third weapon configuration. Wait, you can't figure out where Bluebolts is? You can't see her? Actually, you can't. That's the cool part. So, talk about a gap filler. Now, that's what I talk about, a gap filler. You can store all the parts of Bluebolts, even down to the missiles. Like, there's the two legs, there's the two arms, there's the two missiles, and then the torso is hiding under his head. Where all these gaps exist, just because that's, like, from the original design, boom, hidden away. Bluebolts is in Magnus's robot mode. You don't have to worry about losing her if you don't want her on display. And it's a really cool storage method. That is awesome. I love that. That is like a great way of going, there's a lot of empty space there. What can we put there? And figuring out a way to do it and making it official. And that's super duper awesome. Really do like that. Just excellent engineering. But I think it's time to take Magnus, it's time to take Optimus, and let's combine him into Omega Prime. So now there's a design feature that's classic to Omega Prime that the original designer had intentioned. It worked its way into the show. It's like part of the iconography, and that is the handshake between Optimus and Magnus. Because if you get Optimus's hand and you get Magnus's hand, and you can plug Magnus's hand into it, now you got the handshake. Because in the show, the handshake happens, and then these pieces flip over, and then boom, you've got one of Omega Prime's hands onto Prime's hands. And that's really awesome. It's such a cool detail, and it's once again replicated in this toy, and I'm always happy to see it, especially because it's just such a neat, idea. While I was combining, I found out that Magnus does have one of those green chip pieces, it's kind of like a Matrix equivalent type thing. Yeah, didn't even realize he had that. It is removable, just like Prime's is, but it is hidden right there behind his main chest panel. Only noticed it just now. And here he is, the star of the hour, Omega Prime. So this is the reason why any other, shortcomings in the design come together, because this is the thing he's supposed to become. So this is really, really good. The original toy, a little shaky in places, a little tricky. This one's a little harder to transform, at least I think it is, which, I think if the original toy as a kid didn't feel harder to transform, then that means this one is a little trickier in some spots, but they do a lot of really good, locking tabs so that these legs aren't going anywhere. They still got their ankle joints, but all of this is, tabbed in, connected in, so that way you can pick him up and shake him, and he's totally fine. His waist swivels, so they still got the waist swivel. Everything feels pretty solid. I don't have any concerns. I think they did a really great job. The chrome up top is nice. I like that. It looks really cool. It has the vibe of the original. Love the way the eyes are done as well. They catch the light quite well. I know we talked about in the little unboxing segment about discoloration, possible yellowing here. I See a slight color tinge difference between these, which says to me that it may eventually become an issue. Whatever plastic combination is causing this, they gotta stop using it. They just gotta stop using that plastic. This is becoming too widespread of an issue. But other than that, great, solid. I have zero complaints. This is beautiful. This is exactly what I was looking for. It's like a nice, really nice upgraded version of the original Omega Prime, and he looks terrific. Here is Nemesis Laser Prime for comparison. Here is Sideburn, and here's Towline. Because what's the point of transforming Towline? That guy was mostly the truck in the show anyways. But yeah, you can kind of see how that's all kind of shaping up size-wise. He's gigantic. He's massive. He's awesome. That's not all, though. The fun part is the stand is still compatible. So it's the same stand for everything. That's why the stand's so big. Like, if you're just hooking up, like, Prime on his own without the super mode, it'd be gigantic. But yeah, stand locks him in place pretty good. Bluebolts in her cannon configuration for the original mode. Boom, boom. Just plug on. Done. There we go. So now we got the original cannon form up there. And then to round it out is the most ridiculous accessory of all time, the Matrix Blade. So this is Fortress Maximus' sword. And he gave it to Omega Prime in the final episode. Yeah, it was the final episode, right? And so this has the most ridiculous handle length to it. Like, this is nuts. This is bonkers. This is ridiculous. And I say that all in a positive light. The other interesting part, it does come in pieces in the box, but all these parts separate. Like, you can separate out, like, the blade from this piece, and then these two pieces separate, and then the handle. Not exactly sure why. I think maybe they designed that because they weren't sure how they're going to pack it out in the box. But it can all separate. All the handle pieces as well come apart. So if you want to give them a shorter handle, say, for example, you wanted to give this to, like, you know, a Fortress Maximus, you could give him a shorter handle. But he does have the two handles, so you can hold it two-handed. I don't have the Titan's Return version of the sword, but I do have a third-party one, which you can see is a little bit larger in that distance, but of course the handle is a lot shorter. That one's, you know, that's a third-party piece. And the original Brave Maximus would have come with this sword, which is the one for the G1 Fortress Maximus. This is the Encore version. And you can kind of see it's a little bit smaller. Again, handle notwithstanding, it is a little bit smaller than that original G1 sword. So that's kind of an interesting comparison. But yes, of course, the whole design idea is you can have him hold it. There is kind of a couple ways of doing this. So you can kind of position the handle. Basically, you're going to use the, there's like 3 little clips on the inside of the hand, and you just want to line up the sword to that, and then you can have him hold it. So you just line up the pegs. The design's the same on either side, so if you're looking from the front, you can tell. And then I found that there's a nice little divot in the stand right there. That's kind of a neat little mirrored thing, and so you can have it resting. So you can have the big old sword in his hand. Now, if you want to do it two-handed, like it was in the show, it is hypothetically doable, and you're going to have to maybe pose a little bit better than me. It's a little heavy, but you can do it. It totally works. Look at that. It's happening. You know, I think maybe also the reason why there's separated sections here is so you can adjust the length of the sword as you wish, or so it, you know, it doesn't break, but instead it will just like pop apart. But yeah, a little heavy on the weight there, but you can totally have them support it with 2 hands, which is pretty amazing. That was like a, you know, last minute thing in the show, and they made it work on the toy, and I appreciate that. It's kind of like the you know, I think there was like a promotional item where you could get the sword for the original, or I think maybe Encore did it, but whichever it is, it's nice that they included this. And the overall package, QC issues withstanding, overall package is amazing. And really the only issue is we just have all this stuff for Super Mode Prime that has nowhere to go. This is the only weird thing, is that while they were doing the marketing in the lead up to this release, the designers said we have a secret mode to use all of the components in a combination, and I don't know what the secret mode is. There's nothing in the instructions about it. There's no hidden booklet. There's no secret video online or some QR code or a scavenger hunt across the internet. They haven't said anything about the secret mode yet. Part of me maybe thinks that the secret mode is that this stuff's going to fit on Skybite, because there was that episode where Skybite pretended he was Optimus and was wearing his armor. Maybe. I don't have any like inclination of how this can combine with this. But, you know, it's something that they said. Don't have an exact option. There is open pegs, and maybe that's like what we're supposed to do. Not exactly sure on that front, but otherwise, that's the whole package. I mean, also there's another space bridge piece, another stand piece here that makes it now the whole package. There we go. That's the whole package. I'm really impressed with this. So on the whole, was it worth getting Haslab Omega Prime? Absolutely. I think the QC issues with Prime's torso in particular, very unfortunate, because it does feel like not just a QC problem, but kind of a bit of a design flaw issue. It's something to be aware of, something to keep track of if you are getting yours and you're wondering what the issue is. The yellowing on the Magnus white parts, don't know if it's an issue yet. That's going to be a little bit of time to find out. Is that going to be widespread? Is that going to be like a common occurrence? Is it going to yellow really badly? No idea. It's just, this is becoming a problem with like the white plastic or even the light gray plastic in certain materials. Just has this yellowing effect, and it's a real bummer. It's something that Transformers as a whole needs to figure out. It's not unique to this. Other things like the tolerance on Magnus's wings should be fixable with some shock oil. Obviously, none of these issues should be happening in the first place, but that's manufacturing. When you're producing, any number of things, but especially in a mass quantity, not all of them are going to be perfect. I think the only complaint I have is the torso for Prime, because that is like 50% design flaw. I think it should have had a little bit of a better mechanism to kind of work itself out, because it just feels a little bit too prone to failure, and that's pretty much it. Other than that, great set, absolutely love it, super happy with it, and especially I think because I'm going to leave it in Omega Prime mode, I'm pretty stoked. It brings me a lot of joy, and I really do like that. So if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and subscribe. That's the wrong order. So if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit subscribe and the notification bell, leave any comments, questions, concerns, any issues you've come up with on your copies, or any questions you have that wasn't clear in the video. Absolutely check that out. Also join our Discord server in the link below. It's a great community. We've been discussing the QC stuff. It's been back and forth like, oh, does yours have this? Does yours have that? How do we fix this? What is that? Doing all that down there. So go join, hang out. If you want to support the channel directly, you can join as a channel member and get perks like early access to videos and member exclusive live streams. Let's give some special shout outs to channel members. Special shout out to all of our channel members, including Captain Tier, Spin-54, Toma K, Masterbin95, Forever1000, Super Shaddix Boom, Mr. Smelly Potato, Silver Bricks, Travis's Media Madness, Gokai Gamer, Josh Frisch, Muhammad Faiz Daniel, Brenton Yadden, Stephen Hinojosa, Jamie's World, Cameron Meter, and Taylor Black. Thank you all for your support, both channel members and viewers alike. If you so wish, I'm on social media at Blue Sky, at Soundout12. You can also find my wonderful graphic designer on our Discord server, on social media at DarkClaw643. You can also find Hero Club at HeroesClub.com for entertainment news and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying, transform!